do when we were together. He wants you to think that I did it. This is what he does. He tries to isolate me and he tries to get me alone.
Hey! You need to calm down. You are scaring my daughter.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Blood and Donuts. I am Tony.
And I'm Chris. What's up, everybody?
The Invisible Man, a 2020 science fiction horror film directed by Leigh Whannell, loosely based on the novel of the same name by H.G. Wells. Directorial style, Leigh Whannell, known for his work on The Saw and Insidious, directed and wrote the screenplay for The Invisible Man. And Wan, they're the creators of the Saw franchise. And
yeah, that's awesome. I saw that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and Whannell, he actually that original Saw, he's one of the guys chained up there at the beginning.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So he's one of the actors from it. His what he's done and what he's added to horror, and just a short amount of time, the dude's really just just putting out bangers. And so when you think about The Invisible Man, first off, what I get in my head is that 1933 sunglasses and top hat wrapped up, that Universal monster guy, the Invisible Man. And so when you see like a modern day 2020 version of it, you kind of you're like me, like roll your eyes like, oh, here we go again. They're going to redo it. Let's redo Mummy. Let's redo Frankenstein. I mean, we've seen tons of these movies and most of them are pretty terrible. So, you're really taking a chance by taking on one of these, right?
Yeah, you are. I mean, and this is, like you said, it's one of the original kind of classic, very classic horror characters. And, I'm not going to give my ranking yet, but they really, I think, did a good job of bringing it up to the modern age. It wasn't just overdone with the sci-fi portion of it. It was probably just the right amount, I think. So, yeah. But yeah, I think it was well done. Another Blumhouse Productions, Tony.
Blumhouse. They just own horror films at this point.
Is it British? Is it Blumhouse or is it
Blumhouse?
Is the H? It's a Blumhouse film.
It's a Blumhouse film. Blumhouse. 1933. That he was a scientist and he was like drinking some potions and he was trying to get invisible to kind of, and like that, like it went when he turned invisible, the power kind of went to his head and he just went on this like crazed power trip and he's like, who's gonna stop me? And that laugh kind of thing.
You know who I am, aren't you? All right, I'll show you. And what I am.
Watching this, I was like, this is the best that they could do. I mean, you can't do any better than this to bring it into the new age. I love the retelling of the story. I love the suspense and everything about it from the get-go. Elizabeth Singleton Moss is an American actor and producer. She's known for her work in several television dramas. Y'all would know her from what was that one? The Handmaid's Tale. That's the most popular one. I think that everybody knows her from. From the start of this movie, she draws you in, and a lot of times she's the only person on the screen. And you're seeing the anxiety, you're seeing the frustration, you're seeing the what this man is doing to her, and you're seeing her like it almost ages her, and you feel the anxiety, and she's just such a good actress in this.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, she told a whole story in the first 5 minutes without saying a word.
Yeah.
And it was incredible acting, just like you said, by herself on the screen. Really good job. I didn't see any weak actors in this whole thing, but she was definitely the strongest of everyone.
Absolutely.
And she was also in Us. She was one of the neighbors.
She was
Us,
the basic white bee, is I guess you would say, and she was great in that too.
A good actor here, the guy who plays Adrian. He is one of the characters in The Haunting of Hill House, which is a great little series on Netflix. And Aldous Hodge, who played James.
Yeah.
Him and his triceps, they've been in so many other good movies that this film is not even on his known for category. You know what I mean?
It's nuts.
So phenomenal actors in here.
Absolutely. This film explores themes of domestic abuse and psychological toll it takes on the victim, adding a layer of depth to the horror genre. Optical effects. The film relies heavily on practical effects and camera tricks rather than excessive CGI to create the invisible effects. A lot of times, Chris, you're just sitting there and the camera is just on a chair, you know, and you're sitting there in the audience. You're like, is he sitting there? You know what I mean? Like, it's like you know what I mean? Like, it's just the camera is just panning around the room and staring over here in the corner and over here. And you're like, is there an invisible man over there? Right?
So, yeah. And I have a funny story on that. So I was watching this movie. It's like 30 minutes in, and there was a couple of these long shots already, right?
Yes.
And for me, it was kind of getting oversaturated there in the beginning. And I was like, I clicked the button to see how much time was left in the movie. You know, it's like still an hour and a half to go.
It's a 2-hour film.
Yeah. And sure enough, so I sat there for another minute and a half, and I'm like, all right, I'm starting to get aggravated. I'm already like planning this rant right now of what I'm going to say on this podcast. Turns out I accidentally hit pause. So I was just sitting there watching the still screen thinking it was part of the movie, but anyway.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of just like like it's her and her experience. And so like half of it you're like, is she just like wigging out? Is she just like still? And that's what everybody around her saying, like, hey, he's gone. You know, he's this, he's not a part of your life. He's a million miles away, or he's dead, or he's this, you know, like stop worrying about him. So you're sitting there, is she just wigging out, or is he really in this room? And I have a negative. You could say that sometimes that goes on a little too long, you know, just a little bit too long. You're just like, come on, give me just a little bit more action. This film had a relatively modest budget compared to other major Hollywood productions. That was a commercial success. I saw somewhere it made over $146 million. So it was a huge commercial success. It came out in 2020, right before the whole world just shut down. So like, I mean, with COVID-19 and everything. So people were still, I guess, right before COVID just wrecked everything for the movie industry.
I mean, you said that was a pretty modest budget.
Yeah.
The house alone that they were shooting at looked like it would be worth a couple million just to rent it. So.
They're at the beginning. Absolutely.
Yeah. Apparently they used 4 different houses to film the interior of the, of the main house.
Yeah.
And fun fact, this is another Australian production, right? This was filmed in Australia.
What is up with that? Well, what is that about?
I don't know, man. We have like a magnet right now. We're just geared towards Australian stuff. Like
Better Watch Out. Better Watch Out was like that.
This one, Krampus was probably.
But they're not in there like, you know, hello, how you doing today? You know, they're not in there doing it. They're like, I mean, they're English American actors. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah. Is it just cheaper to shoot in Australia?
It must be. It must be. So when she runs out into the woods and stuff, the pine, it's full of pine trees.
Yeah.
But they actually had to shoot that at like a plantation that grows that stuff for like furniture and Christmas trees.
Yeah.
So they filmed at that location. So that's pretty funny.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
There you go.
Tomatoes. Critics give this a 94%. Very highly praised. Audiences give this 85%. IMDb, a lot of the same, 7.1 out of 10. So very highly, maybe one of the highest rated films that we've seen. Black Phone was pretty close. Halloween.
Yeah,
Halloween.
Exorcist Believer was up there.
Exorcist Believer was nowhere close. Again, I can see why The Invisible Man, after watching it, again, I got to watch this with my wife. This is not just a straight up horror film. We're doing it here on Blood and Donuts, but after watching it, it's not straight up horror. There's definitely some bloody elements of it, you know, but this is not in the same camp of Saw. This is not in the same camp of Insidious or Terrifier. This is a good suspenseful, and they have some sci-fi elements to it, especially with I'm not going to spoil it, but some of the, how the invisibility comes along, in that sort of way. And I think they did it in a very tasteful way. Again, in my mind, it's not a perfect movie. And there's and it's hard because we're a horror movie review channel, so it's hard to give it just like a perfect score. I think it's a great movie. We get into that synopsis and stuff. I'm going to go ahead and give you my rating if that's okay.
Yeah, do it, man.
Yeah. So, so some of my positives, in which I've talked and I've touched on that a little bit. Elizabeth Moss does a great job. She's an amazing actress. I can't take anything from her. I mean, she's absolutely breathtaking and amazing in this.
Yep.
I felt for her this entire movie. I felt like she brought me in. I was looking into her eyes. She looked aged and tired. You know, I don't even know if they had makeup on there. Like just the sheer look on her face. This woman is an incredible actress. And I don't know who could have done a better job than this woman right here. So I give her a 13 out of 13. She is this movie. Camera work, amazing. Those long drawn out scenes. Sometimes I'm sitting there, I'm wanting a little bit more action, a little bit more sooner. And I like the horror elements of it when she's in that house by herself and she's hearing sounds and she's up in the attic and you're not sure if he's there or not. I love that. The sci-fi part of it. I don't want to see the suit as much, you know. I'm not a big fan of that or whatever. There's some logistic elements which you're really big on. You're really big on disbelief or and all that stuff. Some floating knives and stuff that if anybody could have seen it in this crowded restaurant or have to go along with it. So there's a little bit there. Still, this is an amazing movie. I think it's a great movie. I think it's up there with Black Phone. I think it's up there with a lot of those films that I wouldn't necessarily put them in just a horror camp, even though this is a horror. I mean, like, because some of those neck slits get pretty bloody. And some of that is he there and I'm in my home by myself and is he going to hurt me? I mean, that stuff, it gets pretty intense. So I guess it is a horror movie. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 13.
Okay.
I think you should definitely watch it. It's a great film. It's not incredible. When it comes to horror, we're a horror channel. So obviously, Trick or Treat, Halloween, The Evil Dead, all that stuff. I think that I'm going to have to rate those higher, but I love The Invisible Man. I love what they did with it. This is a good 2020 adaptation of that 1933 film.
All right. So, you touched on it. Phenomenal acting by Elizabeth Moss, especially. Great pacing for a 2-hour movie. There is one scene that I'll just call it the escape.
Yeah.
They could have cut out a lot of that. I thought that was also a bit convoluted, but the story and music worked well. But while I like the music and the score and stuff, fire the sound design guy or whoever manages the sound level, because it goes from like blaring music to like whispering people and then back to blaring. So I'm like turning it up and then turning it back down.
Did you have people asleep in your house? Were you trying to watch?
No, I was by myself.
Really? Just like, it was just that blaring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I had to turn it up because they're whispering or talking low.
Yeah.
But then when I do that, I have to turn it back down when it gets loud. And it's not for jump scare effect either. It's just loud sound.
Yeah.
But so Tony, I'm way away from you in our rating. Usually we're tied or
we're pretty close,
or we're pretty close, maybe one off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this thing an 11 out of 13 donuts. I really did enjoy the suspense, the not knowing if he's there or not. I thought all that worked really well.
Yeah.
It had a few good little jump scares there. Nothing really per se got me.
Yeah.
Except for the stupid little dog bowl in the beginning, but no, the acting great. I thought the story was great. I'm going to give it an 11 out of 13. I think you should definitely go check it out.
Invisible Man 2020. Go watch it. We watched it for free on Peacock, so you should too.
Peacock.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right after this segment, we are going to go in and we're going to spoil the crap out of this. We're going to talk about every scene by scene with spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it for yourself because there's some clever twists in this, especially at the end. Here it is. Here's the spoils. Trapped in an abusive relationship with her fiendish and violent husband, an optics scientist named Adrian Griffin, Cecilia Cass escapes from him in the dead of night with the help of her sister Emily. Cecilia has drugged Adrian with diazepam, something like that. But as she escapes, Cecilia frees their dog, which sets off the car's alarm and wakes up a furious Adrian, who pursues her. And she escapes with Emily. Cecilia leaves the drug bottle behind, which Adrian finds lying in the middle of the road.
Yeah, we touched on it. Just great solo acting. Like, I mean, she just told an entire story, like a history of these two. You could tell she's been abused and controlled.
Yeah.
Without saying a word. Phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, for the moment, like, the first scene is her. I think she's just like, it like pans out and there's the ocean. It's this big mansion of a house. She's like, okay, these are well-to-do people. And then she's lying there in bed. Her boyfriend, fiance, husband, we don't know at that point, is asleep, and she like takes his hand, which he fell asleep with his hand on her, and she like takes it off like she's disgusted. And you're just like, oh, okay. Yeah. She doesn't like him, you know? And then she goes through this elaborate scheme of what she had planned. She has a locker in her closet with an escape bag. She has, like, and then she goes through the entire house, and you see that dude is like some kind of scientist, computer geek, because he has some type of computer lab. And again, it tells an entire story, but she is so good at just like creating that suspense and the anxiety and that just like nervousness, you know. And then she gets in the car and she's like, you need to drive, you need to go, and she's like, and then you see him like wake up eventually, and then he's coming for her, and he's a scary dude because he like runs down and like punches the window like of the car like that, and it just like shatters into a million pieces, and his hand is very bloody, and they just drive away, and you're just like, what is going on? Who is this guy? And man, he's a very powerful, scary man, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, when you were talking about her lifting up his hand, I just had like a funny image of like back in the wrestling days where she like raised it twice, and then on the third time he's like,
oh yeah, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan would come back and just
he comes out of the sleeper hole.
Yeah. I love that.
He's ready to beat again.
I love that. Sorry, go ahead. I like that. That's a good addition. Thank you for that, Chris. So 2 weeks later, Cecilia is living and hiding. She's at the household of her best friend, James Lanier, and his teenage daughter, Sydney. We don't like, I feel like they didn't explain a lot about this, Chris. I feel like you just kind of get dropped into this friendship. And I was just like, is this the boyfriend or who is this?
Honestly, I thought it was her sister's boyfriend after the sister comes to the house.
Yeah.
I thought that they were together.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I guess that wasn't, whatever. So anyway.
Never explained.
Yeah. Remaining a recluse who is afraid of leaving the house, Cecilia freaks out when Emily comes to visit, believing that Adrian will still harm her. However, Emily shares the news that Adrian, he's committed suicide. His brother, Tom, bequeaths to Cecilia his late brother's fortune and estate, which Cecilia only accepts to fund Sydney's college tuition and James's household.
I'm sure that's all she did. But the scenes of her giving her friends money and what she's using it for, it really made you kind of like these characters.
Yeah,
kind of like
absolutely.
Get attached to him. Like, I did like the distant shot down the hallway that made it look like someone was watching that scene. Mm-hmm. Did you remember that? Like,
absolutely.
It's just kind of hidden in the corner or whatever. Yeah. Very good cinematography there.
Yeah. So, again, you're watching the movie. It's called The Invisible Man. So you're sitting here, you're like, and here's the big scary man that she's running from. So you're sitting there anticipating at any point, when is he going to become invisible and start stalking this woman? You know?
Yeah.
And so, you're on the, we're in the audience, so we're in the know. And nobody else is. And again, she's living as a recluse, and James is like, why don't you go out into the mailbox and all this stuff? She wouldn't even go outside. She is very fearful of this man.
Yeah, very, very afraid.
And again, like it said, the sister comes by and she's like, why are you doing this? You know, he'll track you, he'll do this. And she's like, he's dead, you know, it's over with. and then you go and meet, dude's brother, who's just he's just an asshole. I mean, this dude sucks, you know, like he's just like, I mean, he just sucks. So you're just like sitting there and you hate him, but her boyfriend, husband, fiance, what is he?
It's her friend.
I know, but what is
James?
what is Adrian to her?
Oh, I think he's just a boyfriend or a
Just a
fiance,
boyfriend? Okay.
perhaps.
So anyway,
yeah, I don't think they're married.
So she gets this huge fortune, and he's like, yeah, you get $10,000 a month or something like that. You know, as long as you don't commit a crime, or right?
Yeah, she can't get arrested, and she can't like. I think that was just one of the stipulations. That was the main one.
Yeah, it was the main one
for sure.
And at that point, I was just looking at Lauren. I was like, man, what would I do with $10,000 a month? You know. But yeah, so
Right.
she's gonna fund Sydney, James's daughter, to go to school, and they have a party about that because that's a big deal and that's exciting. However, Cecilia is filled with an uneasy feeling that she's being watched, and in the night is stalked by an unseen force, which only she recognizes. In the middle of the night, while sleeping next to Sydney, the comforter is slowly pulled off, and several flashes of light are seen. Cecilia wakes up and is suspicious about the blankets at the foot of the bed. When she tries to take them back, they won't move. Her reaction wakes up both Sydney and James, but she's unable to explain what she thinks she has seen.
Yeah, so the bed scene is where I hit pause accidentally. But I like the cool use of like the footprints on the sheet, you know, that only she sees briefly.
I love that. Yeah. That's really
And then
good.
she throws the sheet on the chair to kind of reveal him, and he's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably get busted right away for doing something like that. I'd be like, I would do something stupid or trip over something, and like just
go,
make the loudest
"Ow!
noise.
Dang it!
Bring it.
Son of a... Ow! Hit your head.
That would be me.
You'd be the worst
screwed up.
invisible man. You like fart. You're like, oh, sorry.
Or like my stomach would rumble or something. I'm like,
I
gosh,
have the
gotta
loudest
go eat
stomach.
something.
That's hilarious. Like it is cool. They're sleeping, and you see these blankets being tugged off of them, and that I'm looking at Lauren like this. We're watching at night. Lauren hates horror films, so I was just like, I'm always looking at her to see if this is too much. Is this too much for you? So when he's like sitting there and he like, so this is the most horror film of this the most horror film type thing of this film. I think when he's tugging those blankets off, because I mean, when you're a kid, when you're an adult, like those blankets are like, they save you from it. Like it's everything, when you're sleeping, like it keeps the evil spirits away. If anybody robs you or anything like that, the blankets are like bulletproof, right?
Blankets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the covers are like, so when he takes those off and she gets up and she's staring at the chair. Is he sitting in that chair? And then she gets her blankets and then, like you said, those footprints that only she sees, and she can't move them. It's like nuts. James comes in, Sydney comes in, and she's like, Adrian's here. And I couldn't pull those blankets. And James is like, you're an idiot.
I bet James could have pulled those blankets. I mean, with them arms.
Dude was swollen. At one point, he was leaning down and like this, and he was just like his triceps were just sticking out like that. I was like, Lauren, look, dude's flexing right there. I mean, like, dude's just
that's what you do, man. I have to do, like, if I go work out the tries, I'll lean over a desk and I'm like, is everything going all right over here?
How we doing? How we doing over here? Everything okay? All right. Well, I'll just make
Chris, why are you leaning on my desk like that?
just checking on everybody. You just want to make sure
Checking on everybody. Yeah.
Everything good, tight over here. Cecilia goes to a job interview for an architect's position. When she opens up her portfolio to show her work, Cecilia finds that it's gone, and she faints. After going to the hospital, Cecilia discovers that she was drugged. Upon returning home, she receives a call from the doctor telling her that she had enough diazepam in her system to constitute a mild overdose that caused her fainting spell. She suddenly finds the bottle of diazepam Adrian had uncovered.
Nice. And I was thinking it would be hilarious if in the art portfolio he put like a big piece of paper that said like "F you" or something on there. Like that's what I would do.
Or like Drew,
you
like
just-
you remember those box houses that you would draw when you were like 5 years old? Like you just
Yeah, with like the sun in the corner and like the little dog outside.
that's
of the
what
tree or
I would have
something.
done. Like you draw like a house, yeah, with some stick figures. He's like, let me see some of your work, and she pulls it.
Oh,
Come
that is
on,
hilarious.
come on, Whannell. Couldn't you've add some funnier things to this? That would have been great. But
This
yes.
is the kind of stuff we would be talking about if we watched it together. That's why we can't watch movies together.
I know
we would
miss
miss all the
oh my god,
all the suspenseful
that
stuff.
is hilarious. I love that idea. They missed it. What a golden opportunity they missed. Yeah,
Dude, messed
that
it
would
up.
this film would have been a 13 at that point. Yeah. So so yeah, she opens that. It's very suspenseful, and she like passes out because she's been drugged. And then she finds the bloody bottle there on the sink. And at that point, you're like, okay, so it was him. He's in the house. She's not going crazy. Dude's invisible, and he's there. But, of course, nobody believes her at this point.
Yeah, and I'll talk a bit more about that in the next paragraph. But
Yeah.
they do such a good job of just the feeling of unease that you would feel like fighting some kind of invisible,
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
demon or force.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Feeling unsafe, Cecilia visits Emily, who's angry and despondent to her having received a hateful email from Cecilia's account. Cecilia looks on her email and discovers that she sent a message and has an emotional breakdown. Sydney tries to cheer her up, but is assaulted by an unseen force, causing Sydney to freak out and believe Cecilia did it.
Now that's the kind of stuff we would do too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
sending emails, get
Oh,
on the
man.
computer there.
Yeah.
And I'm usually not a fan of the protagonist like pleading for help.
Yeah.
And then the people are like, I don't believe
Yeah.
you, go away.
Yeah.
But for some reason it works in this movie. So it's approved by Chris.
So the reason it works, Chris, and we'll get to it in the very end, she uses that. She uses their unbelief to her advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where usually it's like finally they believe her. But even like in the end, they really don't believe her still, And
Yeah.
she goes to Adrian and they have to get some, she's like, forget it. I'm just like, and she uses it to her. So it's like, I do enjoy that as well.
Yeah.
So the email, like, it was basically like you're overbearing and all this stuff and like F you to her sister. I mean, it was like awful.
Yeah.
It was like awful stuff.
Yeah.
So her sister's like, forget you, and slams the door in her face. And then she goes home, and James's daughter, Sydney, is like, we need a girls' night. We're going to, eat cake and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And she's like, yeah, I would like that, because she's sitting there. She's like crying on the floor. So Sydney's trying to help her out. And then all of a sudden, this unseen force just like smacks her or punches her or something like that. Right. It was kind of like, it was like
Sydney in the face.
it was like a jump scare almost.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so you're sitting there, and then James walks in, and he was like, hey, like get away. I need to protect my family. And he leaves at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just, as the audience, that there's an invisible force in there. Adrian's in there.
Mm-hmm.
He's an invisible man. You don't know how. You don't know why. And then that she's in there with her abuser. And man, it's this is the tense scene right here. You're like, what is about to go on? Realizing that she's not alone, Cecilia dumps a bucket of paint. Did I skip something? Is that right?
Yeah, you did. No.
Okay,
James
I'm sorry.
takes Sydney out of the
James
house
decides
to
to take Sydney out of the house to a safer
Yeah.
place. Meanwhile, Cecilia investigates the house and finds that her work is up in the attic crawl space, as well as a large kitchen knife of James and several photos of her asleep, which have been taken by an unseen stalker.
And like I said, it's a good thing that none of the like floors creak or anything when they walk around the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's hilarious.
So what she does, she like so when James leaves, she's like she kind of like she's like you see her aware. She spreads coffee all over the floor.
That's where the coffee comes in. Yeah.
She just throws it all over the floor. She has a kitchen knife and she's sitting over there in the corner and she's like waiting to see some footprints or something like that. And then she goes, you know what? And she calls Adrian's cell phone, which she hears vibrate up in the attic. And so she goes and gets this ladder and gets up in the attic, which as the audience, as me, I'm sitting there, you're an idiot. You're stupid. Why are you doing this? Why are you getting up there? You know, but anyway, she gets up there. She's crawling around. She sees, and again, like we just read, she sees the pictures. She sees the knife. She sees his cell phone. And then she sees her architect designs, which should have been in the folder when she went to go get the job. But when you're getting $10,000 a month, do you really need to go to a job interview, Chris?
No. And the pictures that were in the attic were the same. It was like the little stick figure house. And
No, they were.
it's like the same thing.
No. She's getting $10,000 a month. She's living with somebody. Why is she going to a job interview at McDonald's?
Who cares at this
like,
point?
what is she doing? Just live off the dude's money. Go get your house and live off the dude's money. Anyway, so she's
Stay
up
out
there.
of jail. Sorry.
Yeah. Realizing that she's not alone, Cecilia dumps. So she's like, she's crawling through the attic and she's about to go down back through where she came through the ceiling. And she takes a
She
bucket.
got a text though.
Well,
She got a text that
the-
said surprise.
That's what
Remember?
it was. Yeah. She got a
Yeah.
text and it said surprise on his phone. And then so she's like, oh God, here he is. He's there. And then she's like going back to get out of the attic and she takes a bucket of paint and pours it on him, which is the smartest thing that she's done up until now.
Yeah.
You know, and poor James, his house is a wreck at this point. I mean, there's paint everywhere. There's coffee all on the floor. You know, he's going to come home and be
really
pretty.
is.
I was wondering, I told Lauren, I was like, man, what a mess she's making in this poor guy's house.
Yeah. He's going to come home and beat the crap out of her.
James is going to come home and say, I understand why Adrian treated you this way.
All right.
Because who just pours coffee and paint all over the house? She senses his movement, uncovers a man's shape wearing some kind of suit. The man flees and washes off the paint before Cecilia exits the attic. And at that point, I said, Lauren, there's no way he could get all that paint off. You know, and especially now, like looking like to the future where he had all those cameras, intricate cameras on that suit and everything, there'd be paint all around the rim of those things. It'd be everywhere, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it would. That's funny.
Whatever. The two fight until Cecilia breaks free from his grasp, escapes the house, getting into a Lyft car, and she is called. I just assumed it was an Uber, Chris. I would be ashamed.
I
of
did
myself.
too. I mean, that's usually the standard
What was I thinking?
hallmark.
Well, I mean, I said to Lauren, I was like, that's her Uber, but here on this synopsis, it's a Lyft car, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Way to assume.
yeah. Cecilia has the driver bring her to Adrian's house, and that Uber driver, I'm sorry, that Lyft driver's like, man, that's a faraway place. And
Right. Yeah.
and as the audience, you're like, why is she going back there? You're an idiot. And she's like, stay here. I don't know how long I'm going to be. I might be 2 minutes. I might be 20 minutes, but please stay here because I'm coming back. And she's walking around. Zeus is there. Adrian,
That's a
who
little
was
fishy.
yeah. So you're like, Zeus is dead. Apparently, I mean, so Adrian's dead. Why is Zeus still here? There's obviously some things covered up with white sheets to keep the dust off and stuff like that. But she like goes through his lab. On entering her husband's house and sneaking into his laboratory, as we would say, or laboratory, Cecilia discovers a high-tech suit that he's been working on that could make him invisible. Cecilia takes his suit, she hides it, but she's attacked by the invisible man until her dog returns and intervenes, buying her time to escape.
Yeah, I like how she just kind of hides in the corner of the closet as he fell for like the
Come on.
okie, like just the classic.
Yeah, I mean, like
she was right there, and then he got shoved, and
yeah, I mean, yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's some like again, you have to suspend some disbelief for this. On a lot of things, you're like, many times I was like. And I said to Lauren, I was like, why didn't, like, that paint would have never came off. Where was that Uber driver? Like, she's really hiding in that closet. You know what I mean? Like, this dude's like, he's so smart and strong and just like motivated. It's just like, I don't know. Again, you're like, how did he miss her? But whatever.
Well, Zeus saved her too.
Zeus did save her.
Zeus guarded the,
Yeah. She takes a suit. I guess they had an extra. I guess there's just an extra. It's like generated pretty easily. Yeah. It looked like, I don't know. She takes it and she moves it into that hidden locker that she had. That hidden locker was, that she had her bag in when she left him earlier, and she puts it in there. And that will come into play a little bit later, won't it, Chris? Mm-hmm. Cecilia sets up a meeting with Emily at a busy restaurant. She apologizes while also explaining that she loves her. Emily's skepticism starts to melt away as they begin to bond. Cecilia explains that she's found an invisible suit at Adrian's lab, but suddenly a large knife is dragged right across Emily's throat, killing her. The knife is placed in Cecilia's hand, who is then arrested and moved to a sanitarium. Chris.
Yikes. I gotta say, this is my favorite scene in the movie, and it's up there for any movie for me. Tony, I don't know why. You might feel the opposite way, but I was like, it just took me totally off guard. Yeah. And I was like, holy crap. And then she's just sitting there with a knife. And then I get it. It's a crowded restaurant, but like, if nobody saw that, I mean, that's the perfect crap. I mean, you see people look over, they see knife in hand, lady across the table's bleeding to death. I thought it was really well executed.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really well done. I was very surprised. I mean, like when it happened, I had my mouth open. I was like looking at Lauren like, what just happened? How did that happen? It happened so quick. They're literally in the middle of conversating about like, she's like, I need your strength right now. You're my sister. You're my sister, and I need your strength right now. You're so strong and all this stuff, and you're stronger than James. And she's like, yeah, you're right about that, because I would kick James' ass or something like that. Doesn't she say that? You're just like, and you're feeling good for her. You're like, good. She's got her sister on her side, and her sister's a strong person. She needs, and then it just like the knife just gets picked up and just drags right across her neck. I mean, she looks, she goes, that knife is like floating, and then it's a good scene. That's one of the best scenes in the place in the movie. Yeah.
See, if Cecilia was thinking, she would have shoved the knife in her sister's hand real quick.
Yeah.
And then made it look like she did it herself and then started screaming. But, she didn't think on her feet there.
Who would have been thinking that? She probably still didn't. She was like halfway didn't believe her,
Yeah.
But halfway
maybe.
like, oh, yeah, you know what I can do? I can help you get some help, Like, yeah. Doubting her own sanity and finding out that she's pregnant with Adrian's child, Cecilia gives in, but is then confronted by Tom, who explains that he's been working with his brother the whole time. Tom says that she'll lose the fortune and be admitted permanently to this institution unless she returns to Adrian and his child. Cecilia refuses. Still enraged that he killed her sister, Tom leaves, but not before Cecilia steals one of his pens.
Here you are, sir. Have a seat with this psycho who says she sees invisible people while we exit the room and leave you. I get that he's a lawyer, but I mean,
suitcase and then sharp, not like ballpoint pens or anything.
These are like
that.
Fountain.
These are
quills.
fountain pens. Yeah, this is what James Madison like used back in the colonial times. Like freaking Thomas Jefferson was sitting there like pondering the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, dipping in ink wells and making. That's what this guy used and was allowed to bring back to her, and she stole one of these. And then she had some chewed up bubble gum, which she stole. This is Adrian's brother, and he's coming back, and he was divvying up the will earlier, and at some point you're kind of like, oh yeah, he's like, I hated my brother too. My brother's manipulative. He manipulated me, and when I saw that he was dead, I was happy too. And like, so you kind of believed him for a minute, but here you see the old listen. What you've been doing to my brother's wrong, and like he kind of like, you're like, oh gosh, he knows that he's invisible too. And so Tom, this lawyer brother of Adrian, becomes an evil person as well, in which she like, she hedges her bets. She gets the old inkwell again. She found out she was pregnant. She thought that Adrian really wanted a child with her. So, but he was so abusive and everything that she just started taking, unbeknownst to him, she thought, taking birth control, in which he traded in for something else, Tic Tacs or, I don't know.
Yeah, he swapped it out with something.
Swapped it out with something. And then, so she stole this pen, and she's in the sanitarium. In her room, Cecilia prepares to kill herself by slashing her wrist with the pen, but the invisible man stops her, having pulled him out of hiding by using herself as bait. Cecilia stabs him with the pen twice, causing his suit to start glitching, and for him to appear and disappear at random. A security guard enters to stop her, but is stunned by the glitching figure who beats him down.
Yeah, here's where it lost me a little bit. I just didn't care for this scene. I mean, I can believe like a sci-fi suit with like a million cameras on it, but you can't tell me that they're gonna escape out of this facility with all these guards and guns.
Yeah, so I'm the same. This was not my favorite part. I love the horror aspect earlier when she was alone with the invisible man in the house, pulling blankets off in the attic, stuff like that. Her in the sanitarium and like stealing this pen and slicing her wrist open, and then all of a sudden these guards rushing in, and they, and they're like, "Ma'am, please," and then all of a sudden the suit's glitching. I mean, to me, this is not my favorite. She's out in the rain, and the guards are like, "Ma'am, where are you?" I feel like she would have been Swiss cheese, which we're going to get to here in a minit. But so it's just...
and I feel like the first half, like you just kind of touched on it, the first half of the movie just had so much character and so much, it's just oozing with atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it gets lost about like right here. Yeah. And it goes away for like action. So it's kind of a... First half, second half kind of deal. This is
an action scene. Yeah. Again, like she escapes and she's out in the rain and she's picking up gun and shooting out like she's damn Rambo or something like that. Not this ordinary. John Wick Jr. Yeah, she's not this ordinary girl anymore. She's like, she's got this, whatever. Okay. All right. Cecilia rushes out into the hall. She's stopped by several security guards who also see the glitching figure. The invisible man easily overpowers them. Before escaping into the stormy night, Cecilia tracks him down, but he overpowers her and then tells her that he will now set his sights on Sydney.
So does the suit also make him just super strong?
Absolutely.
Because he's like overpowered,
snapping
like
people's necks.
Half of a mental ward.
Oh yeah, snapping necks, snapping wrists, all this good stuff. But too bad he couldn't see her in the closet, like you said, behind that that wall, on the right.
Been a shorter movie, a lot shorter movie.
Yeah, but he can like snap wrists and necks of grown men.
And we didn't really talk about it, but after the whole can of paint went on and he cleaned himself up and stuff, there was a big fight scene.
Yeah.
And she got a few good jabs in on him, and he clearly had her dead to rights, and he didn't finish the job. So
she's pregnant, and maybe he knew it, and she didn't.
Yeah, I didn't know if he knew that yet or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he took it easy on her. That's what I'm assuming. Cecilia,
he only beat her a little. Sorry.
Yeah. So she leaves the sanitarium with a gun. And she's like going after a dude who's visible sometimes and not visible in this parking lot. But the guards are like still coming after her, And they're like, Cecilia, where are you? Get down. You know what I mean? Like they're like, yeah. So, but she's after him, but she can't see him unless he's glitching. And anyway, he comes out in the middle of the rain. He goes, you know what? You had your chance, but you messed it up. Every time you screw me over, every time you mess me over, I'm going to go kill somebody that you love. And right now, at this moment, I'm going to go kill Sydney, James's little girl. James's daughter. And so he goes and does that. So whatever. Cecilia warns James of the danger, and he rushes home to an unseen figure who's attacking his daughter. James tries to intervene, but he's beaten horribly in front of his terrified Sydney. Cecilia breaks in and sprays the figure with a fire extinguisher, revealing his shape before just unloading on him with a fallen officer's pistol. The invisible man falls to the floor and dies of his wounds.
Yeah, I thought James was also dead.
Yeah, I thought James was too. There was one point where the camera was like panning over, and I go, Lauren, I was like, oh, he's still breathing, he's still moving around, But they like his tie. He's wearing a tie. If you're a detective, don't wear a tie.
Yeah, it's a weakness. It's a weak point
because they're going to use it on. I mean, like, dude was like, I mean, it was choking him. I mean, like, it was awful.
Yeah, it's crazy. This scene was almost kind of hard to watch too because I like James. I
love
want
James.
To get the crap beat out of him.
Yeah.
And
he had big triceps,
screaming and all that.
In your heart of hearts, you're like, if he could see you right now, he'd beat the shit out of you.
Maybe
with them big triceps.
But he's got a super strong suit on, so
the suit makes him stronger. You think?
Apparently,
yeah.
He overpowered like half a medical ward and 20 cops.
Here's the big reveal. Cecilia unmasked this invisible man, revealing him to be Tom. Guess what?
I'm sorry, the menace Tom. It's
Tom.
It's Tom.
Well, like when I saw that, I was just sitting there like, whatever. Okay.
You knew it, did you?
Yeah. Adrian is found tied up, walled up in his house in the basement. SWAT team storms his place. James explains that the evidence suggests that Tom just used his brother to get at Cecilia, but she's still convinced that Adrian and Tom were working together, and that in case the worst happened, Adrian set it up that Tom would take the fall.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan by Adrian. Did you think they were both in on it as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, like obviously we're as the audience, I feel like we're with her on this,
Yeah.
And so like, but after everything that just went down, it was kind of frustrating to see James be like, so we got him. It was Tom the whole entire time, and she's like, no, Adrian's abusive. This was definitely him. He's the guy who invented the suit. He's the optics guy. And James is like, nah, listen.
Tom.
It was Tom.
Like this hardened investigator.
And I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there like. So at what point do we not believe Cecilia? I mean, come on. She's been through so much. Can we not just like throw her a bone?
And she's been right the entire time.
Yeah, the entire time. But James is like, listen, it was Tom.
And we got him.
So it's over. So you need to go back to Adrian and tell him you're sorry. You need to get out of my house because the coffee grounds and the paint, that was a little bit much. Still stressed from the series of events, Cecilia calls Adrian and agrees to meet with him for dinner. Cecilia is wearing a listening device, hoping to find a way to get a confession out of him with the help of James, who is positioned outside the property. Cecilia asks him if he was stalking her, but Adrian denies it at first, but later implies that he was indeed preying upon her. As Cecilia excuses herself to the bathroom, Adrian begins to realize something else is up when suddenly his head is jerked back and his throat is slashed. Adrian collapses to the ground, bleeding to death.
Yeah, I did like the eye for an eye revenge kill.
Oh, yeah.
That's how her sister went. So
that was
I like that.
That was amazing. This is the part where you're in the theater and everybody just claps. You know what I mean? Like this is what you wanted to happen. The knife goes into his hand, like you know, and then all of a sudden he just slices his own throat, apparently. But we all know that she stashed a suit in a closet somewhere. She put it on, and this happened. So this is a very good ending. You know, I don't agree with exactly how we got there, you know, to this dinner and all that stuff. And even then you're like, why is she having this dinner? But this answers that, you know, she's about to make this happen. So it's a very good ending, I thought. Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Cecilia enters the room and appears shocked before calling the police and reporting an apparent suicide in a panicky tone. Cecilia then gloats over Adrian's dying body and implies that she did this using his invisible suit. James rushes in, finds Cecilia escaping with Adrian's suit and dog. Upon discovering that she set this up and the plan of murdering him, James lets her go. Nonetheless, Cecilia leaves into the night, perhaps with the plan of stealing her husband's work for her own future benefit.
I would have so much fun with a suit like that for the first like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'd screw something up. But
He would definitely
cool
screw something
ending.
again.
It really left the, you know, it leaves the audience as like, ooh, did she just steal all this the whole time?
Yeah.
Maybe he was controlling for a reason.
Yeah.
Because it looked like she was just kind of like going to use that for evil. She's walking away like all smug and
I see that. I mean, she was kind of like, well, it looked like on the film, and you can go look at it for yourself. It looked like he just killed himself, right, James? You know, and James is like, yeah,
it was Tom.
it was Tom. I still believe it was Tom, but okay, I see where you're going with this. Nah,
Tom snuck in. He was alive, and he put the invisible suit back on and went and killed his brother. But it was Tom.
It was definitely Tom. Yeah, Tom did this. No, I thought it was a very good ending for this. She had been through so much. I mean, you felt so bad for her. I love that her and James like had this moment together because he was a good friend and he looked out for her. And but again, like she didn't get to go to her sister's funeral or anything like that. She was in a psych ward, so I just felt a relief for her because she had been through so much, and you were right there with her the entire time. And she was such a good actress that she wore it on her face, and you were just like, "Can we get this girl some damn relief, please, please?" And so they're at the So I'm assuming that get this girl some lorazepam. So Adrian was really good. That's who he was trying to help her with that. Anyway, yeah, you're right. This was Tom.
Crazy.
This was Tom. No, but like so, the entire time you're sitting there and you're just like, I want some relief for this woman, and then she kind of gets it in the end, and I like that. That was a good ending. It was a good ending. Oh my God, 2024, first episode of 2024. Dude, we have officially done this for 2 years now. This is crazy.
It does span 2 years. But hey, we got some good ones coming up on deck, man. We got Jack Frost.
Yes.
Night Swim, the new movie coming out.
Hell yeah. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, Where Evil Lurks, Saw X. We got a bunch of stuff coming out, so stay tuned.